Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Energy and energy solutions are some of the biggest critical changes that we're having in our generation, in our lifetime. What is going to be the role and what is going to be the paradigm of how we interpret energy, how we find energy, and how we solve our energy independence crisis, at least in the United States, over the next 2 decades? There are going to have to be companies. It's not just going to be governmental subsidies that are going to be able to actually allow us to transition via new technologies that are created to store energy, harness energy, find innovative solutions for energy to actually be manufactured essentially out of different ways from oil and gas in order for Americans, in order for our lives to continue to go on with relative peace. Because if you don't have energy, if you don't have the ability to go from here to your local 7-Eleven and go buy your drink because there's no gas in your car, because there's no energy, things get bad and things fall apart and things get chaotic very, very quickly. Palantir invested in a company called Energy Vault. They invested about $100 million in a pipe deal, which is a unique company as I went into it, enabling a renewable world. I found out about this a couple of weeks ago. I've been waiting to do this video, and it's interesting stuff what these guys are trying to do. So first of all, I want to read through what they're trying to do, and then I want to talk about how this implements with Palantir and sort of why Palantir would invest in them in the first place. So let's read their basic description. Energy Vault's gravity energy storage, yes, gravity energy storage solutions, harness the fundamental principles of gravity and kinetic energy to store and dispatch energy by lifting and lowering composite bricks or mobile masses made from recycled and locally sourced materials. Energy Vault's breakthrough technology was inspired by pumped hydro plants that rely on the power of gravity and the movement of water to store and discharge electricity. That's sort of the proprietary patented technology that they have. Pumped hydro plants that rely on gravity and the movement of water to then discharge and store the energy that comes as a result of that movement. The company's solution is based on the same well-understood fundamentals of physics and mechanical engineering used in those plants, but replaces water with custom-made composite bricks through an innovative use of local, low-cost materials and sophisticated material science. Now, I just did a video the other day on Origin Materials, which is one of these types of companies that takes raw materials and materials that don't release any carbon dioxide and then has a unique chemical product that's proprietary to them and is able to create these materials that companies can then use in their supply chains and reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by up to 45%. So this is kind of the same thing here in terms of the Energy Vault is using a particular use of raw materials that are constructed and composed within these bricks, and then the hydro pumping of those bricks and the storing and flowing of the electricity that comes as a result of that is what they create via the composite bricks moving and the gravity that is created as a result of those composite bricks moving through the hydro pumps. And then they're able to store that energy, and that energy then becomes a use case of like things you can do with that energy that doesn't have to be rooted in oil and gas. So they have these materials. They put these materials in bricks. They put these bricks through a hydro pump, and the electricity that comes as a result of the movement of that hydro pump via the gravity solution is what creates the ability for them to actually do something meaningful with energy. The system uses proprietary technology to autonomously orchestrate the lifting and lowering of the bricks, so that's the movement that I was talking about, storing the potential energy in the elevation gain, and generating and then discharging electricity as the bricks are lowered. So the movement of the bricks is what creates the energy, and the point is of the bricks are created by certain materials that don't release carbon dioxide and that have this like sophisticated material science. That's why it's important to watch that Origin Materials video, because I think that'll give a little bit of context, because this storage energy solution storage kind of builds off of what Origin Materials is doing. Importantly, the bricks are made from locally sourced soil, sand, or waste materials, including outputs of fossil fuel production such as coal combustion residuals, and the end-of-life energy components such as wind blades, which leads to a lack of greenhouse gas emissions coming from this movement of bricks. Really interesting stuff, okay? So like, you know, a company that's using unique forms of raw materials to do composite brick movements and then the gravity underneath that as the foundation, creating electricity that they can then store. I mean, that's like really interesting stuff. So let's take a look at this video real quick. It'll give a little bit of context of what these guys are doing.
Energy Vault develops gravity energy storage solutions and energy management software to accelerate the global transition to renewable energy. The Energy Vault Resiliency Center is designed to improve grid resiliency and dispatch energy at the optimal time. So how does Energy Vault gravity energy storage work? Energy Vault gravity-based solutions employ a proprietary mechanical process and energy management system to store and discharge electricity. When renewable energy generation is high, EVRC uses that energy to raise 30-ton bricks to an elevated position. Potential energy is stored in the elevation gain of the brick. When energy is needed, EVRC releases kinetic energy back to the grid via controlled lowering of the bricks under gravitational force. EVX is the modular building brick of the EVRC system that can be built to scale in increments of 10 megawatt-hour units. To fulfill energy demand, to support grid resiliency, and to manage energy-disruptive climate events and extreme weather. The systems can be co-located with renewables and/or built as standalone storage to support grid stability, designed to meet standard building codes and constructed utilising local labour and recycled materials. Energy Vault gravity-based energy storage are designed to power our lives and to enable a renewable world.
So this is real cool stuff, right? So like, a grid would essentially be a grid would. There would be this Energy Vault storage system, which is doing all this proprietary brick moving stuff on the, like behind the entire city, and it would be connected to solar panels, and those two would be powering the city's electrical grid, which is like really, really interesting to think about in terms of how this would happen. So let's go back to them and let's see a couple of different things they have. So they have EVX. This is one of their solutions. Energy Vault actively works with large utilities and energy companies in the world to prioritize their energy storage platform to improve flexibility and address our customers' evolving duration. So they not only create this this storage center, but the storage center is doing the proprietary process they're talking about of the brick composite movements, which is what's creating the energy in the first place. That's one of their solutions. Then they have EVRX. So this is grid resiliency. So this is kind of their solution for grids. This is really cool stuff. Like, look at this stuff. This is real stuff that's actually been implemented. Solar generation with a decommissioned coal plant location. Like, imagine instead of a coal plant, you've got this big glowing box that's creating all the energy in the world. I mean, that's amazing. Like, that's just, wow. And then they have harnessing the power of gravity. The Energy Vault commercial demonstration unit combines innovative design, advances material science, and proprietary machine vision software to lift and lower composite bricks to orchestrate the storage of dispatch electrical power. We talked about that. And this is their thing in Switzerland, and they're using gravity. Okay, that's a 6-minute video, so I'm not going to play that, but I'll leave it in the description. Really, really interesting stuff. Designed to be modular, flexible, plant capacities range from 20, blah, 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 technological features, applying conventional physics fundamentals of gravity and potential energy. So we talked about that. So this is one of their solutions that's doing stuff with gravity. This is sort of the lowering and bringing up of bricks as well. So interesting. You kind of see this, like it's fully discharged when all of the stuff is at the bottom. These things at the top are bringing them up and down. When it's charging, this is when it's going up and down. When it's fully charged, it's all the way at the top. And then as it discharges, it goes back to the bottom. And this is just bringing bricks up and down and creating electricity based off that. I mean, that is fundamentally amazing. That's like cool. Let's read this question. What is gravity storage? Gravity storage refers to the use of energy to place objects at the height that are then lowered under natural gravitational force to create physical movements which turn mechanical motors and create electricity that can be dispatched to the grid. Inspired by the widespread use of pumped hydro, where excess electricity pumps water into a dam and then is released into a drive a turbine to create electricity, Energy Vault storage systems rely on the elegant power of gravity to store and release kinetic energy. You know, this reminds me a little bit of Niagara Falls. Now, I might be a little ignorant on this. I don't know if Niagara Falls actually powers energy in Canada or the upper New York City area or New York State area. But I do know that waterfalls have a ton of energy coming from them because there's just massive amounts of water falling, and that energy actually can be captured. And when that energy is captured, you can, use it in really unique ways. Now, what does this mean for Palantir? This is not one of those SPAC deals that Palantir is like heavily partnered with. This is just one of the deals where they invested through a pipe deal, right? So they put $100 million in. So they were just one of the investors. They were not like sort of the main partners where these guys are using Foundry, etc. Now, maybe they're using Foundry. I don't really know. I don't think Palantir hasn't disclosed it, and like I would be doubtful of that because I feel like they would release a press release or something like that. But what it does for Palantir is it allows them to have another equity stake in a company that's doing something actually meaningful. So there's two outcomes of this. Either, Gravity Solution becomes so mainstream and their proprietary technology of bricks and all this stuff becomes so mainstream that this company becomes extremely valuable and Palantir has a meaningful equity stake in it. So they're sort of buying that revenue that way. But On the other hand, if this becomes big, Palantir gets more exposure to the new energy markets. Obviously, electric vehicles and electric energy and the transition to solar energy, it's becoming very big. And Palantir's investment in Wejo and the new products they're releasing with Wejo and the stuff they're doing in the renewable energy sector via Foundry and working with a lot of other companies, it shows that there's a real world use application of how Palantir can integrate with a lot of energy companies and a lot of energy manufacturers. Yesterday, Palantir just came out with a statement, or not a statement, but like a white paper that they are working with ExxonMobil. Now, ExxonMobil is not the most renewable energy company in the world, but the fact that they're working with an oil and gas company to help them modernize and operationalize their processes, that is a good thing because that means less waste, more efficiency, and overall a better experience for consumers as we transition to solar energy. And ExxonMobil, I mean, it's very obvious they're on the path to transition to renewable energy. When are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? Those questions remain to be answered, but eventually they have to because oil and gas is just going to run out in the next 40, 50 years. So with Palantir sort of investing in these innovative companies, even if they're not playing a major role from a partnership perspective like they do with the actual SPACs they invest in, it's a good thing for Palantir to be involved in the technology. It's a good thing for Palantir to be in the industry, and it's a good thing for Palantir to have an equity stake in companies that likely will be the future at the end of the day. ExxonMobil will be replaced if they aren't able to transition by something like an energy vault, and for Palantir to have an equity stake, that is extremely meaningful. The final thing I want to say here is that the reason Palantir invested is because this is innovative stuff. I mean, this is stuff where it's man, gravity solutions to be able to create energy to not rely on carbon and oil and gas. It seems like a utopia. It seems like a dream, but if these people can pull it off and if they have the funding, obviously, to be able to create the infrastructure to actually pull it off and show there's a viable business model behind it, which there has to be in order for energy adoption of this type to become mainstream, that's amazing. That's really, really good stuff, not only for the planet, not only for the environment, but also for Palantir because they have an equity stake in a company that could become a major energy giant. And then when they go to sell their software to other energy giants, they can say, hey, we are in this industry. We work with these people. We know what it's like. Here's how Foundry could actually be modularized for your use cases. And here's what can get done. This is initially why I invested in Palantir back a year ago, right? It was this idea that their software will be the most powerful software in the world and will power multi-trillion-dollar industries, and they don't even have to get a huge portion of those industries. They have to get 2 or 3% in a couple multi-trillion-dollar TAM industries, and their $120 billion TAM that they estimated becomes very exponential because there's a lot of deals to get in a lot of different industries that would ultimately be using the software to do some pretty amazing things. So those are my thoughts. Palantir's investment in energyvault.com or Energy Vault. I'm just looking at the website, energyvault.com. If you guys want to check it out, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. And let me know how you feel about harnessing the power of gravity to create clean energy in the world. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.